Today, we are taking a look at the brand new Space-Time Smackdown set in Pokemon Pocket. We are going to react to the trailer for the very first time, break down absolutely every single card shown, and also theorize on cards to come at the very end of the video. Let's hop into it. All right, here we go. Let's see what we got. Okay. Oh, straight off the bat, we're getting Diamond and Pearl era. So Gen 4 is confirmed, at least from the Dialga card that we see immediately. Oh, Metal. Finally, Metal is going to be viable in Pokemon Pocket. And it's just a plain 4 Diamond. I thought it would be a new rarity, but maybe we'll see more here in a second. Palkia, of course. Gen 4 was my generation. The DS was legendary for me as a kid. We'll take a look at each card in detail here in a little bit, so let me stop pausing. Space-Time Smackdown, Palkia and Dialga. So it's a duo instead of the 3 card packs that we had with Genetic Apex. The 3 Gen 4 starters. Maybe there is a 3rd pack. Unless they're gonna break it up in some odd way. Interesting. And shout out to my brother for this idea, but I think it could be Dialga, Palkia, and similar how we got Giratina back in the day with Pokemon Platinum, that could be the 3rd card pack. Let's get back to the card that we see right here. Pachirisu EX. We got a Leafeon and a Honchkrow. Okay. Oh my gosh. We'll take a look at the attacks here in a second. A Cynthia. Oh, Gibble and Cresselia as well. And this is a short trailer. They're not giving us much. It's available on January 29th. Okay, a lot of people were speculating the 30th, but it's definitely going to be dependent on time zone. I don't know if it says specifically, but at the very latest, January 30th. Wait, I didn't even finish the trailer. New trade feature will be added on Tuesday, January 28th. Quite a lot to unpack there. And in case you guys haven't realized, this comes out literally next week. So in a matter of 5 days, we're going to have trading and then the new set. Next week is going to have so much content, but we are going to continue on by using this site called POKEBEACH, which I highly recommend you guys check out. And we're going to break down absolutely everything we have confirmed. So this is the Dialga art. Then we have the Palkia. I was always more of a Diamond than a Pearl kind of guy, but to each their own. First card, we have Dialga EX, which is a Metal EX card, first of its kind, and it's weak to fire. And again, has 2 different attacks. The first attack takes 2 metal energy from the energy zone and attaches it to a benched Pokemon, which immediately makes me think that Metal is instantly going to become viable now. Because with 4 energy, it hits for 120. Not to mention, Dialga EX's second attack does 100 damage on top of that. So Metal is getting a massive buff this update. Also, I forgot to mention, it does 30 damage on top of adding the 2 energy. Next, we got Palkia EX, which is a water type, weak to lightning, slash for 30 off of 1 energy, 150 HP, and then Dimensional Storm. As a second attack, he discards 3 water energy from the Pokemon, and this does 20 damage to each of the benched Pokemon, and 150 to the active slot. I'm interested to see how this one plays out, actually. It's one of those cards that could be like a Hail Mary, but also super annoying if you lose to. Next, we have a card that wasn't actually shown in the trailer. We're getting Lucario, which I know I'm kind of basic for, but Lucario is one of my favorite Pokemon, and this has to be one of my favorite 1-star artworks. I gotta be honest, their attack is not that great, but this is not gonna be the reason you run Lucario, because this is just a basic, not even the EX form. But we're only 3 cards deep. Let's keep going. Turtwig's kind of basic. We got Bite for 30 off 2 energy, 2 retreat costs, which sounds kind of high, I gotta be honest. But I'm guessing Torterra is going to be a beast. I just hope that they make Leaf Energy not annoying anymore, because I'm sick of Celebi. Next, we got Chimchar. Scratch off of 1 energy, 1 retreat cost. Infernape was my go-to for this generation, so I'm hoping they do a good job making it unique. But then we got Piplup. Nap, heal 20 damage from this Pokemon. Could be really good for stalling. I'm gonna be interested to see what Empoleon does, because if I recall, they had some pretty unique abilities in the DS game. But Water's already so strong, I'm not sure how this will fit into the meta. We'll see though, we'll see. I don't want to make a judgment call. Next up, we got Pachirisu, which we saw in the trailer. It has Sparkling Gadget, does 40 damage and does another 40 if it has a Pokemon tool attached. I'm not sure if you're able to attach multiple Pokemon tools or exactly what a Pokemon tool is. I tried to look it up and I'm not exactly certain. So if someone in the comments could clarify, that would be appreciated. Next, we have the first supporter card, Cynthia. And it uses Togekiss and Garchomp, thus confirming those cards being in the game. And this is also our first look at a 2-star card from the set. But we don't know what Togekiss or Garchomp do, but we'll make speculations towards the end of the video, like I mentioned. But we do have a pretty good idea of what energy Garchomp will be. That will be Dragon. And you might think that would be self-explanatory, but in the past, they've had Garchomp as fighting. But confirmed, pretty much guaranteed, it will stay Dragon, which I like a lot. And from what we can see, Gible has 60 health, does Gnaw, which I'm gonna guess does 20 damage off 1 energy, but that's not confirmed. But for Cresselia, 110 HP is a basic Pokemon, heal 20 damage, and does 50 off of 2 psychic energy. Next up, we got Leafeon. Keep coming with the evolutions, please. Leafy Cyclone, 90 during your next turn. This Pokemon can't something. But here's the original card it was based off of, and it says retreat. So I'm gonna go with that. You can make your assumptions though. Then also shown in this picture, we got Honchkrow, which also means we're gonna get Murkrow. Not sure how many energy it takes, but it says does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Next up, we have a backdrop. Basically leaking Darkrai. So we actually have quite a bit of info on this. This backdrop looks sick. Okay, and then we also have another artwork. Is anything shown? Not quite. Darkrai, Palkia, and Dialga. And then also it shows on this... Wait, there's more info. Oh, it shows off the trading currency. Okay, so for anyone out there that was speculating that it was going to be Shine Dust or Gold or what have you, it is not. It's its own thing. So it takes stamina and a different currency. 2 different types of currency to trade cards that people don't necessarily care about. I'm gonna be positive on this. Let's look at the bright side. I definitely wouldn't have taken this approach. I think stamina alone could have been fine. 2 different kinds? Are you kidding me, dude? It's just too much. But let's take a look at everything else here. It says you can edit the card or switch out the card that you're trading. I don't know how easy it will be to get this currency though. What is it? Trade token? I don't know. That sounds like a crypto. Let's not call it that. And then let's go to the next picture, see if it shows a bit more info. So it confirms it, trade or decline, and then it has a duration at which it would expire, it seems. This seems very inefficient, I'm gonna be honest with you. Because from the looks of this is going to be very tedious if you're gonna wanna complete your Pokedex. And let me remind you, 1 star and down is able to be traded. And you can only trade for the same kind of rarity. You're gonna notice the 3 diamond here is also being traded for the 3 diamond. I feel like they should have done this differently. I don't know. I don't wanna judge it too harsh too soon, because at the end of the day, it could blow us away. And before I forget, if you are someone that needs people to trade with, join my Pokemon Pocket Hub Discord server in the description. I already have a trading channel up, and people are already listing their trades. So join in the description down below. But that has been absolutely everything listed on POKEBEACH. Again, huge shout out to them. Go bookmark this website because they do a great job updating and showing off everything new in the game. And then one final thing I want to mention about trading, in case you haven't seen this official announcement about the trade feature, definitely take a look at it. But the one thing I do want to highlight is that it mentions specifically Genetic Apex and Mythical Island are enabled for trading. So it does not sound, at least when this first launches, that Space-Time Smackdown will be enabled for the trade feature. Similarly, I was on ptcgpocket.gg, and they made a post about everything new as well. So they're linking this new rarity to this new set, but as far as we can tell, we don't have the new hyper rare or rainbow rarity seen in the trailer. The other thing cool on ptcgpocket.gg is they have a trade thing set up already where you can make offers for specific cards. And obviously the feature isn't out in game, but I would definitely check this out because it looks very promising. But now we are going to be hopping into some speculation on what cards could be coming based off some information that we have. Okay, first up for speculation, let's talk about Turtwig up to Torterra, the evolution line. Its evolution, Grotle, has 2 different attacks, heal 30 damage with Mega Drain, and then also deal 30 damage. So I find that that could be a real possibility. Then let's talk about Torterra. So as you can see, they have a retreat cost of 4 energy, but they have an attack that does 180 damage. This attack does 20 damage to each of your bench Pokemon. So your own bench is getting attacked, which I think is super unique, and I could definitely see them moving this over to Pocket. But this is also very scary to me, because Celebi is already such a big problem that this is one of those cards that could be very hard to deal with. For the next starter, we got Chimchar, and unfortunately, his original artwork comes from the Pop series, and Pop series can't have the evolution cards in them. So we're going to be using the Diamond and Pearl base set as an example. But let's talk about Monferno. For his 2 attacks, he has search for the discard pile for a fire energy card and attach it to Monferno, which I could also see being viable. But Infernape essentially has an attack that's basically like the Eevee from in-game right now. With 1 energy, you could do Meteor Punch, which does 30 damage till you get Tails. And then their second attack here is essentially a worse Ninetales, because the Ninetales card we currently have in game does 90 damage, but only discards 1 energy. This discards all energy. But I found a more recent Infernape card, and you could see that they basically called out what I exactly said and buffed it to 160. Now, I think that's overboard off of 2 energy, but I could see something like 140, but who knows? Maybe we're getting EX variants of the 3 starters. So for Piplup, the original card comes from Supreme Victors, but at the time, Pokemon was doing something weird, where they had FB cards, which I did not play during this time, because I would have been 8 years old, but the FB makes it so that the final evolution was a basic Pokemon. So it wouldn't make much sense to base off the cards for this. For their evolutions, let's use the base set as example. So Piplup here has 2 different options. The Aqua Shower does 10 damage to each of the opponent's bench and active slot, and then Brine, choose one of the opponent's Pokemon that has any damage on it and does 40 damage to that Pokemon. Which out of the 2 options, I think the Brine is more unique, so I could see that being a thing. Either way, doesn't sound like that crazy of a card. Let's talk about Empoleon though. Ice Blade, choose one opponent's Pokemon and does 40 damage to it. The second option is Aqua Jet, flip a coin, if heads, does 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then it does 70 off of 3 energy. Again, this is not a EX card, so seems pretty lackluster. But it's pretty comparable to most baby cards in Pocket already. But I do have to say, if they were to go with this attack here that they use for the FB variant, this is so troll. Rushing Water does 20 damage and moves an energy from a defending Pokemon to another card. So let's say they're racking up all their energy on a Charizard or on a Mewtwo. You control them and move it to their Gardevoir. That, to me, sounds really fun. I could see some potential in this idea. Next, we have a pretty basic one. Let's talk about Riolu, because we know we're getting Lucario, and we could see in the top left corner, obviously, it's not a standalone card. So, Riolu from base set Diamond Pearl cards, flips a coin. If it's tails, it does nothing. 30 damage. Next, I'm going to be breaking down all of the Pokemon in the background of that Lucario card I showed earlier. So, first up, we have the Medicham. But obviously, if we're getting Medicham, we gotta also get Metatite as well. But it's pretty safe to assume that it's going to be a fighting type since it's in a Lucario card, and the rest of the cards in there are fighting as well. So my prediction is going to be that Metatite has a jab and it does 20 damage. A bit more than this, and probably 60 HP. As for Medicham, there's 2 variants here, as we can see. One is Meditate, that does 20 damage, plus 10 more damage for each damage counter, but we don't have that mechanic in the Pocket variant. For their second attack, they do 10 damage, plus 10 extra for each card in your opponent's hand. So if you have someone just stacking up cards, this is actually a big counter to it. I would love if this became their attack. And I think to make it more viable, I would make it 2 energy and then just keep this mechanic. It could be very easily countered, but such a fun card at the same time. In the bottom left corner, we saw the Mine Xiao, but we also have to talk about Mine Fu first. So, I definitely don't think this is viable, 2 energy, but either way, it's not worth talking about. Mine Xiao, on the other hand, off of 2 energy, doing 50, nothing interesting, to be honest. But after looking at some variants of Mine Xiao, this one seems very interesting. For 1 energy, you do 40 damage, but then after using it, return the card into your hand. So it can be used as a front line, get early damage out, and you don't lose that 1 point from dying. But once again, after looking at different variants of Hitmontop, I could see this close combat attack being something similar to what gets released. Basically, when it gets damaged at all, it boosts the attack by 20. And then the final Pokemon shown in the background of Lucario's card is Hitmonchan, but we already have a card for that. Next, let's talk about Gible, which immediately you can notice that this is a fighting energy where the card we're getting is Dragon type. But just basing it solely off the artwork, this comes from XY Breakpoint and Gabite. Their attack, the defending Pokemon can't retreat and does 20 damage. But what we should be concerned about is what Garchomp will do when it's launched, because it will be used alongside this Cynthia card. 50 plus damage while using Garchomp. And their first attack, Turbo Assault, does 60 damage off 1 energy and attaches an energy on top of it. And then their second, Bite Off, if your opponent's active is a EX card, it does 80 more damage. Essentially doing the exact same thing as what Tauros does. And now looking back on Gabite, if the energy costs are the same for Garchomp, I feel like the 20 damage is honestly respectable. Because if you're hitting for 80 guaranteed off 2 energy, and if it's an EX, you're doing 160. Not to mention, if you have a Cynthia, you're doing 210. That's insane. To put it in perspective, the card with the most amount of health in the game is Venusaur at 190. So a Garchomp, again, this is all in speculation, that's not even an EX, one-shots every single card in the game. And wait, actually, I might take that back, because this is dependent on it being an EX. So it would do 130 without the EX functionality. So maybe cards like Snorlax would be able to survive? Oh, but wait, it's weak to fighting. I can't think of a card that it wouldn't one-shot, but I'm sure there's probably one out there that exists. Regardless, if this is how it's formatted, Garchomp and fighting are going to make this game so much different. Especially when you have cards like Pikachu EX and most lightning cards weak to fighting type. And of course, we gotta talk about Darkrai. And if we're getting a Palkia and Dialga DX, it's pretty safe to assume we're getting a Darkrai EX. And I gotta say, this card in specific seems very strong. Off 3 energy, it does 90 to active slot and 30 to a bench Pokemon. And then it also has an ability that has no retreat cost if the Pokemon has dark energy attached to it, which seems pretty balanced for Pocket, just because this attack takes 3 energy, and there's no quick way to attach dark energy at the moment. So, bold prediction, we get this card with this attack, and possibly this ability. Then as one final speculation, we saw the Honchkrow card, which means we must get the Murkrow, and the artworks match to this set. 1 energy, Whirlwind, opponent switches their active with one of their benched, which I'm kind of hoping for this to be a thing. It's a guaranteed Sabrina every single time. And going back to the Honchkrow, it does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So you do 10 damage, send them in the back, then you can hit him for another 50 when you evolve. So I see that being viable as well. And actually, I lied. We have one final thing to talk about, and that is the fact that it mentions Togekiss, which means we're going to be getting a Togepi, a Togetic, and Togekiss. The card that I found to be most interesting is this one that allows you to draw 6 cards into your hand, and it has a very low damage to it, so the combination with Cynthia would make sense here. And then going off of this Plasma Storm set, Togetic would allow you to draw 1, and then Togepi puts the defending Pokemon asleep. But I believe if this were to be added, this would be the lowest health card in all of Pocket. But that's going to be every single speculation on cards we've seen in the trailer and online. Let me know what you guys think of the brand new set. I've seen people say that it's a little too complicated. I've seen a lot of love for Gen 4. I see a little bit of disappointment that it wasn't Gen 2. But in my opinion, this was my childhood. So I'm over the moon right now. But if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to open up so many packs of this new set, do a bunch of live streams, and before I forget, join the Discord down below so you guys can trade for all the cards that you guys need. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.